Welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today on a brand new Mindset and Motivation Monday. I love today's topic because in my line of work, I get to work with and talk with tens of thousands of people every single year, whether I'm speaking at an event like the last IHP live event we did, or a keynote that I may be giving, or of course, every single day online communicating in the chat threads or comments of all these different social media posts. So one thing I wanted to share with you is that a lot of us struggle with ending up ever achieving what we believe our potential is. And one of the reasons why I think that this is so tragic, I really do, is because at some point in our life, we know what we're able to achieve. We truly believe that we can become all that we believe and want to be. But then as the years begin to pass, we somehow be okay with making our dreams smaller. We're starting to quiet that voice inside of ourselves saying that we're okay with living a subpar life. Now, again, subpar is totally subjective, meaning that you are comparing you to nobody else besides you. So if you're looking at someone else's life and you're saying, oh, I can't believe that I never became a professional athlete, or I never got my PhD in astrophysics. Like, again, you have to ask yourself, is that really the trajectory you were on, right? Were you a superstar athlete as a child? Were you unbelievable in calculus and, advanced mathematics to become the astrophysicist? Because again, we do want to be honest with ourselves, but I don't think most of us need to be part of the 0.0001% that becomes a professional athlete or whatever it might be. But that doesn't mean that we don't have all of our own hopes and dreams that are personal and promising to us. So for example, for me, one thing that I didn't know would ever come true is if I were able to open my own wellness practice, my own wellness center one day. That was just a dream. That was not even anywhere did I believe that would possibly come true in a million years, because I had no idea how it would come true, right? So at 18 years old, well, technically 19 years old, sitting in my first natural health doctor's office and them explaining things to me like I've never heard before. Not only was it not just a 7-minute, 10-minute appointment or them telling it was all in my head, they would actually sit down with me and they'd say, listen, this is what your lab results look like. This is the steroidal hormone pathway. When I say steroidal hormone, I mean I had Addison's disease, so I wasn't producing cortisol, right? So here's how that works. Here's how it's affecting everything in your body. It could actually be coming from your autonomic nervous system. I was like, well, what's an autonomic nervous system, right? I had a familiarity from just taking biology, but it didn't mean I really knew what an autonomic nervous system was, right? And they start breaking down fight or flight. They start talking about the rest and relax. Who knew you had something else besides fight or flight? Who knew you had a parasympathetic nervous system that was rest and relax and digest? And I didn't know that my stress could also be causing inflammation and then digestive issues and so much more. So it was this whole world opening up. And as I would go back for subsequent visits and I would be learning more and more, I said, wouldn't this be amazing if one day I got well and I could teach this with the world and have my own center? Well, okay. Became a certified nutritionist, became a personal trainer, became a strength and conditioning specialist. So I was just kind of going after what I loved doing and was helping people. But I never thought that I could go back and get my doctoral degree. Never thought I would, even after then, open my own practice. So what I did along the way, though, is I just kind of kept that spark just kind of festering in the background, just allowing it to breathe, not totally shutting it down, but not dismissing it, but not knowing how I would ever get there, right? But all I did was, instead of having, literally, I would shoot for the moon, right? That's a pretty big moonshot. Seems pretty unbelievable, at least to me, right? But what I would do is I would work on things that would at least move me in that direction. And I wouldn't totally dismiss my dreams, but I would say, well, let's just, before I ever get to that, wouldn't I have to do this first? And the answer was yes. And so I try to relay that story because, if you're going through an autoimmune issue right now, or you're having really difficult relationship issues, or, there's a void in your life in terms of spirituality, or you're working in maybe finance right now and you want to be working as a health coach and you're like, how do I ever make the transition? You have to understand is that you don't have to do it all at once, but you can't dismiss the dream. So if the dream is you continuing to get those little blurps in your brain saying, oh, don't forget about this. That's what I always used to get, oh, don't forget about this. Don't forget about this. Every couple months, it would start to creep back in there. And then as the beauty of the world, as it unfolds, as it typically does, I'd see another opportunity for another certification and say, oh, yeah, let me go and get my new certification in herbalism or whatever it might be, iridology. It was just kind of one more, right? One more thing, start to add to my knowledge base so that what did I do? Well, I just simply got more comfortable. I got more comfortable with the understanding that I'm reading hundreds, now thousands of books. I've got 2 dozen different certifications. So then a part of me was like, why couldn't you get your doctorate degree, right? It wasn't all at once, but it was like, oh, 27 years old, starts to creep around. I meet my mentor, hadn't dismissed the idea, and all that happened was this. Met with her for 3 months or so, 4 months. I kept coming back with all this like, what I at the time, what I thought was high level research, all these things. And she would just kind of smile because she's already been down the road, right? She has the wisdom. I don't have the wisdom, right? She had the wisdom. And she said to me, she said, you're putting in so much work right now. You've been studying for 10 years to get well. You've seen 100 different practitioners. You've done 100 different protocols. You're almost there. Once you get well, which I did, you need to go back, get your degree, and then teach this to others. And so what I realized was I was almost waiting for permission, right? And I always believe that. I said, oh, I'm waiting for someone to say, you should do this. Because sometimes there's not enough self-confidence in you. But really, what I was looking for, and I think a lot of us are looking for, is something called certainty. And we never make or take that next step because we want certainty in order to do it. So you don't try to create that perfect relationship because you don't know that it may actually work out. You don't go all in on a body transformation program because you don't want to put in the work and effort if it's not going to work out. You don't want to do that health and wellness-based at-home lab or protocol because it costs money and it takes time. What if it doesn't work, right? Another thing with spirituality, where do you even begin? Right? How do you know it's going to be the answer? Same with your career. You've got a good job right now. You may not love it, but it's paying the bills. And you want to go do something with no certainty, right? So I think one of the biggest demoralizers to our dreams is this whole thing called uncertainty. So then what do we need in order then to go after our dreams, to live out what we believe is our real potential, our passion for being here? And I think what we search then for is certainty, right? It's the opposite of that. Well, how do you gain that? The problem is this. If you had it, you'd already be doing it, right? So it comes from a certain level of self-confidence. So we need to somehow get that confidence up. For me, I just kept accumulating the certifications. I kept accumulating the knowledge. I started to write a little bit. I started to create some videos. I started to feel like, well, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. And then what happened? I had a mentor say, you're ready. Go back. Do this. What are you waiting for? So she provided that extra little bit that I needed in terms of certainty. But how can we then apply this to your own life? Well, the goal is this. Let's just use an overall body transformation-based program. All right. So you don't have to worry about it being the absolute best, most perfect plan in the whole world. Because as I've shared before, on basically 2 weeks ago, Mindset and Motivation Monday, it's never going to be perfect, right? The arc and the trajectory to the perfect life that you want is imperfect, right? It's a bunch of zigzags. But the whole goal is you hope that it's up and to the right? However you want to look at it on the graph. You want it trending up. Now, along the way, there'll be some zigzags. You just want to be able to overcome those as quickly as you can. So how do we do this? It's really no different. So on your path to transforming your body, you're going to first start with nutrition. That's a great place to start. Nobody typically finishes there because you plateau, which then you begin to realize how much exercise and strength training have to do with transforming your body. So then you add that in. Great. And then what do you need to do? Well, optimize your hormones. Okay, then that works even better. Then what do you need to have to do after that? Optimize your digestion. Okay, now that works even better, right? So it's like, you have to understand that there's no way that you even get to most likely optimizing your hormones or digestion if you haven't started yet with the nutrition and the exercise plan. So, right, that's why people say diet and exercise, diet and exercise, diet and exercise is the way to lose weight, gain weight, like overall body transformation. And I don't disagree with that, but it's not the end point. It's the starting point, no doubt about it. Like 21-day functional medicine detox or 21-day elimination diet, like whatever you want to do it for 3 weeks, but have a game plan as to what's happening in the 4th week, right? Like it's not the end all be all, but it's certainly the starting point. And then after you move past the exercise, okay, like you're not going to continue to make gains in exercise, like massive ones, after like 12 months to 18 months. And I'm not trying to step on any toes of any personal trainers, people like that. You are going to continue to make them, but not rapidly like you did in the beginning. Like that's just, it's probably not going to happen. It's almost certainly not going to happen. I've worked with hundreds of thousands of people. However, you have to keep it going because that's what's going to continue to optimize the nutrition, the other lifestyle things. So then you move into sleep and you move into hormones and so like, but that's the next level. But you don't get there, nor do you even have the confidence to do the next thing if you haven't started to get the results from the first few things. So for me, it's like, okay, yeah, certified nutritionist. I was studying all the time. Certified personal trainer, made sense. I enjoyed working out, but then had to step out of my comfort zone. Hard to start doing things like golf conditioning specialist, certified strength and conditioning specialist. Like those are more advanced, but I did the easier ones first. And that gave me then, I wouldn't say complete certainty, but certainty that I could then sit for an exam for a certified strength and conditioning specialist, right? CSCS. And then that gave me the certainty that I could then sit for a board exam. So like, all I'm saying is this, start with the things that you need, you need to do first. And what happens is it builds up that little self-confidence bubble inside of your body and eventually gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, not so huge that you end up already at your goal the next day, not for most people, but it's big enough that says, hey, I can try the next thing, right? I could try to optimize my hormones now. I've already done so much. Oh, I've done that. Now I can certainly work on my digestive system. I know about nutrition now. I know about intermittent fasting. I know about meal timing. I know, okay, yeah, I can start to work on that for sure. And it's no different than career-wise as well. I work with so many people who want to get into the health-based space. A lot of people contact me and I say, listen, if you have a job, you've got a family, like if you don't have a family, you can take more risks. But if you have a family and it's paying your bills, you don't need to blow everything up, right? But what you can do, and I did this myself, is you can start to build the second career on top of the first. And if you don't know how and you can't really figure it out, please go back and listen to my podcast on the missing 6 hours per day, right? You just need an extra 1 per day. And what you do is you start to work the process for that extra half hour in the morning, half hour at night, right? Like if that's all you have, that's okay. Takes a little bit longer, but you'll get there. Get the health coaching certification that you need. After that, begin to create your content online. After that, create your website. Drive people to your website. Show them how you can help them with whatever it is that your niche is. You specialize in hormones, digestion, women's health over 40, women's health over 40, anti-aging, longevity, the brain, special needs, like whatever it is. Okay, then you start to get that out there. And then you start to do a couple appointments a few times a week at night after your job is done, or early morning, or maybe lunch break, like whatever it is, or weekends. And then you start to build up your practice. You build up your referrals. And then you can finally either take your job down to a couple days a week that you currently have right now and do a couple days of each, or make the leap, right? But you're going to build up the confidence along the way, which leads to what? Not complete certainty, but much more certain. So that's the easiest way. I know it's not easy, but that's the easiest way to do it, because not everybody is going to have that mentor. And I was just very fortunate, right? Very grateful, very fortunate that someone believed in me. Now, again, my parents believed in me, so I'm not going to say that that's not true either, right? But there wasn't the person that said, I've done it. You can do this too. She was a doctor of naturopathy. She said, hey, go ahead. You can do this. I did it. You can do it. Right? So that's also very, very helpful. But I still would not have been certain or made the leap if I had not read the books, done the certifications, put in the hours, put in the practice, because all of that created a little bit more certainty. And with enough, just again, keeping those dreams alive for long enough, that's all you really have to do, no matter what age you are. If you keep the dream alive long enough, you will continue to move in that direction. One day, you end up opening your wellness center, right? You end up at that ideal body that you want. You end up transforming your health, your relationships, your spirituality, your career, whatever it might be. And you can absolutely get there. It just doesn't happen overnight. So when we start to get rid of the thought process that it has to happen tomorrow, and we can start to say, well, I can work on this tomorrow, it's a game changer. Build up your self-confidence, build up your certainty, go after your dreams. Thanks, everyone. Have an amazing rest of the day. And of course, if this was helpful, if anybody needs to hear it, do feel free to share it with them. All right, take care.